Good evening and welcome to the Weekly Voice, presented by VNN, bringing you today's top 10 Canadian news stories on April 19, 2025. Let's get started. Canada's housing market just hit another bump, this time thanks to growing trade tensions with the US. What looked like a recovery in early 2025 is stalling fast, with home sales plunging across major cities. In Toronto, resales dropped 29% in just 1 month. Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, they're all seeing buyers pull back as uncertainty about jobs, prices, and interest rates grows. And it's not just fewer homes being sold. Prices are starting to slip too. Condos in Toronto and Vancouver are especially vulnerable, while even Calgary, long a stronghold, is seeing momentum fade. Analysts are warning that the longer trade disputes linger, the more hesitant Canadians will be to make big purchases. For now, the market's in wait-and-see mode, holding its breath for economic clarity. In one of the sharpest contrasts we've seen in Canadian politics, Mark Carney and Pierre are offering two completely different futures. Poilievre says Canada is broken, and he wants to fix it with deregulation, lower taxes, and less government. Meanwhile, Carney is focused on what's happening beyond our borders, especially the return of Donald Trump. Carney says Canada's sovereignty, trade relationships, and even territory are at risk, and he wants to lead the country through global instability. Their televised debate didn't allow for much depth, but it was clear. One candidate is focused on domestic frustrations, the other on international threats. As election day nears, voters are facing a clear fork in the road. Which vision will win? Mark Carney is going all in on a bold campaign platform to protect Canada from the return of Trump and rising global threats. He's promising nearly $31 billion in defense upgrades, including new Arctic bases, icebreakers, and AI-powered security. He's also pledging to diversify trade away from the US by breaking down interprovincial barriers and expanding partnerships with Europe and Asia. It's a sweeping plan designed to boost sovereignty, defend the North, and protect Canadian jobs. But Carney's also promising to balance the budget, cutting back on consultants and keeping core services intact. With Trump's tariffs hitting hard and rhetoric ramping up, this platform positions the Liberals as defenders of Canada's independence, and it's a direct shot at both Poilievre and Trump himself. Canada is voting early, and in huge numbers. Long lines stretched around the bloc as advance polls opened Friday across the country. From Vancouver to St. John's, voters braved cold weather and hours-long waits to cast their ballots, many citing Trump's return, inflation, and national sovereignty as key motivators. Some locations struggled to handle the crowds, with concerns raised about accessibility for elderly and disabled voters. But Elections Canada says the turnout is promising, already surpassing 130,000 special ballots before polls even opened. If this pace holds, 2025 could see one of the highest early voter turnouts in Canadian history. Advance voting runs through Monday, and General Election Day is April 28th. If you haven't voted yet, now's the time to make your voice heard. McDonald's is back with a bold new lineup of McWraps, and we tried them all so you don't have to. The creamy Chipotle Chicken McWrap, now permanent, is packed with flavor, crunchy tortilla strips, and your choice of crispy or grilled chicken. But it's the limited-time creamy Chipotle fish McWrap that's stealing the spotlight. Made with wild-caught Alaska pollock and layered with that same spicy Chipotle sauce, it's got just the right amount of heat and crunch. The sweet chili fish McWrap also holds its own, more sweet than spicy, with a refreshing finish. All three are tightly packed, fresh, and surprisingly satisfying. If you're curious, don't wait. The fish options are swimming away soon. In a bid to shield Canadian auto jobs from escalating US tariffs, Ottawa is stepping in. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne has announced that automakers who keep production in Canada will be granted targeted tariff exemptions. These companies will be able to import a limited number of US-built vehicles tariff-free, but only if they maintain investments and job levels at Canadian facilities. Prime Minister Mark Carney blasted the US tariffs as a direct threat to decades of cross-border industrial integration, especially in Ontario's auto sector. The industry is on edge, with fears of job losses and rising costs if vehicle supply chains continue to be disrupted. In response, Canada is also introducing a 6-month tariff holiday on select US goods vital to manufacturing and food production. The message from Ottawa is clear: protect jobs, stabilize supply chains, and counter Trump's economic aggression. As US trade tensions rise, Canadian businesses are pulling back, literally. More companies are now canceling travel plans to the US, citing fear of detentions and visa uncertainty. Recent high-profile incidents, including a Canadian entrepreneur being banned for 5 years, are sending shockwaves through corporate Canada. According to Flight Centre, US-bound business travel has dropped by nearly 40% year over year. Even major firms are reconsidering conferences and meetings south of the border. While some push forward, many say the risk to staff safety and optics simply isn't worth it. With Trump's 25% tariffs and annexation rhetoric inflaming relations, Canadian businesses are voting with their boarding passes by staying home. Gamers, mark your calendars. Nintendo has confirmed that Canadian pre-orders for the highly anticipated Switch 2 open on April 24th. The console officially drops June 5th. Prices are set: $629.99 for the base model and $699.99 for the bundle with Mario Kart World. Nintendo's sticking to its original price points, despite global supply chain jitters. The lineup also includes new accessories, upgraded Joy-Cons, and exclusive game titles like Donkey Kong Bonanza. Industry insiders expect the console to sell out quickly, with first shipments already allocated to major retailers. So if you're hoping to snag one, you'll want to act fast. Pre-orders begin next Wednesday. America's wine industry is tasting a bitter vintage. Canadian retailers have pulled US wines from shelves nationwide, fueling a boycott tied to retaliatory tariffs and Trump's latest trade moves. With Canada as their top export market, US winemakers are reeling, losing both shelf space and consumer trust. The impact stretches far beyond North America, with international buyers also pulling back. Industry advocates warn it could take years to recover. Meanwhile, small wineries face rising costs, shrinking margins, and uncertain futures. As wine bars in Europe sit on unsellable US stock, the global damage is becoming clear. Trade wars have consequences, and this one is leaving a stain on American wine. Canada's housing market has hit the brakes. According to the Canadian Real Estate Association, national home sales in March dropped nearly 5% from February and are down 20% from their November peak. That marks the slowest March since 2009. With economic jitters, tariff fears, and global uncertainty piling up, buyers are pulling back. Ontario and BC are seeing the sharpest declines, and average prices have dipped nearly 4% year over year. New listings are rising, but demand just isn't keeping pace. Canadian Real Estate Association has now downgraded its forecasts for both 2025 and 2026. The message is clear: Canada's housing recovery has officially stalled. That's all for today's top stories. Thank you for joining us on The Weekly Voice, presented by VNN. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time.